The effects of Hurricane Sandy still linger around the region. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Patricia Malone. Thank you for joining us. Well, Maryland was not the only one that was hardest hit by the superstorm, but the cleanup in our area after Hurricane Sandy continues. Maniko Bartholomew takes us to neighborhoods hardest hit by the storm.
We're in Upper Marlboro on Water Street, one of the low-lying areas in Prince George's County. 48 hours after Hurricane Sandy hit the area, this street is not on the county's roads closed list. However, officials are here taking an assessment of any damage that may have been caused to the bridge. The news is not so good for people who live in other parts of Prince George's County where roads are still closed.
We had trees down blocking roads, we had utility lines down, phone wires down. A lot of it came from high winds, knocking trees down.
But now Rodney Kleist with the Department of Public Works is on road patrol.
The ponds in the back just don't hold enough water. They can't hold it all when it comes down with heavy rains.
The concern is that high water with nowhere to go is blocking some of the city's oldest and most vulnerable roads, like Marlboro Racetrack Road in Upper Marlboro, closed until the area is safe.
This area here floods quite a bit when we get heavy rains.
At first glance, you may even question why the road is closed.
You don't want to drive no cars through here right now because you don't know where the edge of the road is.
It's pretty remarkable to see the water level this low because just 24 hours ago, the water topped the guardrails.
The water's receding from the pond and it's flowing down under the underdrain and going into the stream.
You would think as soon as the water recedes along the road, just like it's receded here, that the area would open up immediately. But you would be wrong. Workers need to come through and scrape all of the mud off the road because that poses an additional danger. In Upper Marlboro, Maniko Bartholomew, CTV News.
And Marlboro Racetrack Road may be open tomorrow. However, Governor's Bridge Road will remain closed until further notice.
Meanwhile, several hundred residents in Laurel are still in the dark, including a 95-year-old woman, as crews continue to clean up the damage from Hurricane Sandy. Denise Douglas has the details on what's going on there.
At Ruth Block's home, the power is still out, so the 95-year-old has had to wear gloves and sit next to her fireplace to try and stay warm.
It's pretty cold. I'm reading the newspaper with my gloves on.
It's been very trying.
Her neighbor Bob Mayer is also dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. He had to take his food to another house so it wouldn't spoil.
Luckily, I have another house that did not lose power, and yesterday at 5 o'clock we loaded up 2 carloads of food and drove them to the other house.
They and several hundred others are waiting for BGE to restore electricity. A spokesman for the city says at the peak of the storm, about 5,000 residences in Laurel were in the dark. Crews are now working quickly on the remaining outages.
Tuesday afternoon it was down to a couple hundred. Now it's under 100, and they still have crews out here working on that.
The storm also toppled trees in the city and surrounding areas. Just take a look at this one. Wow, totally uprooted, which caused it to land directly on that house that you see right there. The folks inside were displaced.
A lot of the trees were leaning on the houses, didn't necessarily crash through. Now that's not true in some of the other areas, in outlying areas of the city. There was some pretty significant damage, some families were displaced and things of that nature, but again, no serious injuries as a result of any of that damage.
As cleanup continues, Ruth waits anxiously to get back to normal, but still feels fortunate that they haven't had to deal with the kind of damage other areas are seeing.
Better than a lot of people who have suffered, particularly on the islands. Yeah. So we have a lot to be thankful for.
Denise Douglas, CTV News.
At last check, BGE's website had 61,000 reported power outages. 1,700 of them are in Prince George's County.
As many of you know, Superstorm Sandy showed no mercy on New Jersey and New York. In fact, many parts of the Big Apple are still underwater and left in the dark. This includes New York's Penn Station. Reporter Makia Turner is standing by at the New Carrollton train station with worried passengers eager to get home.
Now, as you can see behind me, New York is still cited as a traveling point for many customers. However, these plans have changed today, and it's left many customers who actually had plans to travel further seeking an alternative plan.
I've been trying to get back to New York since the weekend. I came down to see my family in Annapolis, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to get to New York from Philadelphia. Maybe I'll take a bus, I don't know. I'll probably call my friend that lives in Philadelphia. Maybe I'll stay at her house tonight, I don't know.
I was here preparing to go leave yesterday. Didn't get a bus, even a flight out. And I'm going back to Brooklyn so that I can get a flight to go back to Guyana. I do hope I can get to leave here.
How do you feel about the flooding back home? You know, New York actually was hit pretty hard, and you're going to take a bus through there. So how do you feel about what's going on back there?
Well, I'm a little nervous and scared, and I have a lot of friends that live back in Brooklyn, Queens, and Jersey. And every day I was at the television, and I hardly sleep. I was just looking and calling up, finding out how you guys getting through and stuff. And everything is okay so far with my families and friends back in New York and in New Jersey.
Now, as a result to these disruptions, Amtrak will issue a full refund or voucher for customers who choose not to travel under these conditions. In New Carrollton, I'm Makia Turner, CTV News.
And Amtrak encourages all customers to monitor updates through its website at amtrak.com.
There's no doubt the Washington area got off relatively easy as we look at images from other parts of the country. You're looking at some video that was shot at the height of the storm in our area. Blustering winds and heavy rain caused highway speeds to drop to 45 miles per hour. Most people we spoke to today say they were prepared to ride it out, but glad the damage wasn't too severe.
I felt ashamed because I was doing well. I did not lose power. I was not in such a situation as that, but I felt so badly for those.
We had flashlights, we had candles, we had matches to light the candles, and we had water, and we had canned goods and things like that.
Yeah, so you fared pretty well.
Very, very well. God truly blessed us.
Pepco has done a much better job cutting the trees back from the lines because we didn't have as many outages, and that made a big difference.
Yeah.
Computer models saw the storm nearly a week in advance, which allowed forecasters to issue warnings as early as last Tuesday. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.